Is everybody in? Is everybody in? Is everybody in? The ceremony is about to begin.
This is very real.
Fantastic.
This drug is dangerous.
Wrong.
You cannot play with it. It's not funny. It's not something to laugh about. Good people don't smoke marijuana.
Shut your little punk ass up.
But the more you hate me, the more you will learn.
What's going on, amigos? I'm your host, Chad Dulaney, and I want to welcome you to the Autoflower Podcast. This is episode 39, which is also part 2 of answering listener questions with full Duplex. If we didn't get to your question last week, then we will in this episode, unless, of course, you submitted your question after we recorded this. But don't worry. I'm sure we'll do more of these in the future. I'm quite sure of it, actually. I'd like to give a huge ass shout out to our new Patreon members, Locksmith Chris, Doc Woo, Jonathan, Mike, Smiley, and you ready for this name? This one made me chuckle. Liddy Titties. Thank you guys so very much for signing up. Welcome to the community and enjoy your benefits. By the way, there is now an option for you Canadian listeners to sign up for the Flowering Club to receive free seeds every 3 months. It's called the Canada Club, and I opened up 25 spots. So if you are in Canada and you would like to sign up for that, that option is now available to you. Okay, no news other than that, unless you want to hear how Google ripped me off for $400. Can you believe that, man? And I'm going to do a video on this. You know, I'm not one to really point fingers or to say things about corporations or people, but I've got like some pretty legitimate proof that they kind of ripped me off. And can you believe that like way back in March, I attempted to test run an ad with Google Ads, right, for the podcast, but it was denied. It was denied. They gave me 4 different reasons that they kept denying it. A, recreational drugs. B, restricted drug terms and personalized advertising. C, restricted medical content. And D, unapproved substances. Fair enough. And I went and I attempted to word shuffle that and replace terms and try to get it approved, but they just kept rejecting it. So I was like, whatever, I'll leave it alone and I'll just quit trying. Then 4 months later, out of the blue, in July, they decided to approve the ad and not tell me. Can you believe that? I'm serious, man. They sent me 9 emails, dude. 9 emails to tell me my ad was disapproved, right? But they couldn't send me one single solitary email to let me know 4 months later that they decided to suddenly approve it. So they have charged my credit card over $400, which I don't have. And I'm not sure there's a whole lot of people right now who do. And they refuse to refund my money, man. So anyway, if you ever decide to test out Google Ads, be careful, man, because they'll deny you 9 times and then suddenly approve it months later and start charging you without telling you. But don't worry, you'll find out when you get an email statement with the charges. That's when you'll find out, basically when it's too late. And their answer to that was, we send emails out when it's disapproved, but we don't send emails out when it's approved. And they're okay with that. So
Fucking bullshit!
Anyway, thanks for letting me vent about that. I'm pretty upset, man, that a multi-billion-dollar giant like Google won't consider the times we're in and are taking advantage of peon little guys like me. You know, who, I mean, $400 is a lot of money to some of us. So be careful out there. All right, so let's pick up where we left off with Full Duplex last week. Enjoy, you guys, and I'll chat with you on the other side.
Ladies and gentlemen, the show starts in 3, 2, 1.
No, dude, you're fine. I cut you off too, so we're even now.
Yeah,
But-
hold on, shut up. I want to say something. That was a good question, dude. I like that question. That was a good answer too, and it answered a totally off-topic like brain thing that I had going on. That was really cool.
Nice.
Local Delta 9. He's got a few questions, but we're just going to run with one because we've got quite a few to go through here. So what do you do besides compost tea to help your plants rebound from stress?
Foliar feeding, honestly. I use kelp, and then I use ag tonic. Ag tonic is full of micro and macronutrients, and kelp is basically just it's a liquid kelp that's been reduced into a concentrated form. Typically, I feed at a minimum foliar feed, alternate that twice a week. Foliar feed with kelp, and then after I foliar feed with kelp, 3 to 4 days later, I'll foliar feed with the ag tonic, which is the macronutrients. And I typically dose that up a little bit more after some LST or coming in and doing some deleafing or removing some of the lower branches, because even though those branches and those side shoots don't produce a lot of fruiting bodies at the end, what they are holding on to are nutrients that are in that plant because they've developed growth, they've got fan leaves, they are a warehouse for that nutrient. So if I'm going to go through and remove that stuff, I tend to like to foliar feed to kind of mitigate that stress.
Okay. Awesome, man. Outcast TX, which I assume stands for Texas. What method or timing do you use to cure after the chop?
I usually play it by temperature and humidity. From what I've learned out here, low and slow, just like smoking on a grill. You know, the lower and the slower, the better it's going to be your end result. Typically, I like to wait until I get a bend and snap, not a clean snap, not a bend, but you get a little bit of breakage in the fibers and you get a little bit of a bend retention. Usually at that point, I throw into large plastic totes that are sealed by both locking mechanism and they actually have a gasket all the way around the lid. And then I'll slow work that down to about 60% humidity in RH, and then I will take off all the dry trimming at that point and then jar it up.
Gotcha.
So there's not a real set window for that. You know what I mean? So it's all about your environment.
I guess.
And we've talked about that before.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I guess we could even go back to earlier episodes and listen to some of that stuff because we've gotten into that pretty kind of in depth before a little bit, I think.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I know I have with you in conversation. I think unrecorded conversations too.
Oh no, I'm pretty sure there's a distinct actual episode. It may have been the IPM episode. We talked about IPM and drying and curing, or it was the one before, after it was right around that window.
Yeah. All right. Will 2279. He's got a question that we've already answered about feminizing seeds, but I just wanted to shout him out and thank him for asking a question. Same with MMS Grower. We answered that question about how to get autos, crossing it with a photo, but just wanted to shout you out and thank you for asking. East MA fadeaway, East Massachusetts fadeaway. I don't know. I think
probably.
I've only grown feminized seeds and haven't pulled the trigger on regular seeds yet, but I have wanted to try a Mando run. Can I plant 2 regulars in a pot to increase my chances of a female and chop one down if it isn't a male? What if I get 2 females? Would you let both grow or chop the smaller one? If growing in something like a 3 or a 5 gallon pot?
This is one of my favorite questions. This is one of my absolute favorite questions. And I touched on this maybe a day ago in a post. Mm-hmm. There is nothing wrong with starting 2 seeds in a pot. Especially if you're working with something that's familial like my stuff that's been worked all the way down into later generations. Typically, the plant demands are about the same. If you do it, I suggest that you start in a minimum of a 3 gallon pot. I run organic soil, and I've run as many as 10 in the 10 gallon pot and called the males out. I believe wholeheartedly increases your chances for female. And recently, Jesse has been working with me with my Bobby's Widow, and I suggested the same thing in 3-gallon, and he ended up with 2 females. And it's not a bad thing. You know, you don't want to separate them. What I would suggest is kind of pull them apart and separate them by some minimal LST at the beginning after they've sexed, and then let them rock on. If you take a look back at my autopot run with the Bobby's Widow, I had one that did show up with 2 females. And they turned out beautifully. Especially if, you know, your feed schedule's on point, you got your soil or your irrigation or however your growing method is down, it's not going to hurt anything. Like, I've not seen competing for food with autos. It just doesn't happen that way. It's the same concept as having vegetables in a vegetable garden.
Yeah. You know, I pop multiple seeds every single time.
Yep.
Not to like superimpose and answer the question, but if I could just throw my 2 cents in, like I do that every single grow. I just germinated 6 of your forage seeds, and then like Morningstar Seed Company, I had a little less of a seed stock of those ones of the Indigold, so I popped 4 of those.
Right.
And then like my strain, I popped 3, and then what I'll do is I'll just chop the males. I used to pull them, but I don't do that anymore because I might damage the roots of the other plants. So I'll just cut them down at the base. I'll cut the males. And so like with your anvil that I grew, I ended up just keeping 1 female. But your Loki OG, I ended up keeping 2. And I grew 2 in 1 pot. And both ways went very well for me.
Yeah.
You know, having 2 plants in 1 pot, and your Loki OG, I had 2 different phenos in 1 pot. One of them went longer.
Right.
You know, and so I didn't really get that flush necessarily with the first plant, but the smoke turned out great still. The second one I did flush because I was using nutrients, but it still came out great, you know.
Right. Yeah. And they will. Like, I think that's one thing. I don't want to say we want to debunk or break this myth, but I think it's an old world mentality that you can't have 2 females in the same container. Like, if your feed I mean, I can understand phenotypical differences, and I've seen it because I've multi-potted, which is what I call putting several seeds in 1 pot for the last 10 years. Honestly, it's only been recently that I have single potted. It's just because I'm doing a growing show rather than a pheno hunt. Right. I mean, I've done a lot of pheno hunting over the years on the multi-pot method because I can see more plants in a small square footage. Mm-hmm. You know, I get an idea what they're going to be. You know, I mean, I look at it this way. So if I got a 10-gallon pot, I put 10 gallons of soil in there, I throw 10 seeds in. To me, which, you know, people can bash me for this comment or not, to me, that's 10 gallons of soil per pot or per plant at a minimum. Mm-hmm. And then if I'm using, which I only use cloth bags these days, all that root pruning that's going on, like, those plants do fantastic. Like, it's impossible to separate the root ball at the end of the run, and all the plants turn out great. You do run into some plants that are more sensitive to nitrogen if you're feeding off a bottle, but especially in an organic mix, you can't really mess it up if you're doing more than 1 in 1 pot.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep more in 1 pot. I'll probably do. I don't know if I'll do more than 2 because it's a 4-gallon pot. Those auto pots.
Right.
I don't know. What do you think about that? You think 2 is good, or would you even do more?
So what I did in mine, since it's a 3.9 4-gallon pot, I went ahead and only did 2. You know, the reason I did 10 in a 10-gallon is because that's a lot of soil volume, and I knew I was going to get some males. And I catch the males early enough because I look for my males under a scope way before they're visibly showing to cut them out. So the females have the ability to overtake that root room, and I do what you do, and I cut them off at the soil and bury it. No need to disrupt that, don't disrupt that root zone. Right. Just bury them.
Yeah, that was a really good question, man. I like that.
That was a great question. I do too.
Yeah. I always pop at least 3. That's my thing. I do a minimum of 3 because I know I'm going to get at least 1 female, or at least I think I'm going to. And I have every single time. I have never popped 3 seeds and had only males.
You know, can I touch on something real quick?
Yeah.
You know, I believe that there's something there, especially putting it at a minimum 2 in the pot, Worst case scenario, you're going to end up with 2 females. But I have never, not worst case, but you know what I'm saying.
Right.
I've never ran into a multi-pot where I've only done 2 and it had been 2 males, personally, just like you said. Like, it's usually one and the other or both female.
Yeah. The only reason I did like 6 of your forge is because I'm just getting picky and I want to like select a really not, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, with your stuff, they're probably going to be they already do look all uniform, if I'm honest with you. Even in a seedling stage, dude, like the shape of the leaves, the thickness of them, like the length of them, like the serrated, all of them, like everything, and I have the older generation.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they still look good, but I like to pop them and kind of pick, you know what I mean? It's fun.
I do.
And if you have the stock to do that, then it's fun.
Right. And that's why I sell 10 packs, because I know people are getting regulars and they're going to see males. Mm-hmm. And I like to encourage the ability for them to pop an extra seed and be comfortable to do so because they've got 10. And usually, I have baker's dozen everything. So everything comes with usually 11.
Oh, I gotcha. Very cool, man. Let's see. Ridge Patch wants to know, have you ever grown Alpha F5 in cocoa?
I have not, but I do know others that have, and it does extremely well.
Okay. I've never really seen a plant that just doesn't do well in cocoa.
Yeah, me either, because you're fertigating 24/7.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Radical Notions wants to know, I pollinated a Cosmic Queen by Mephisto with a buddy from Maine's Dark Devil Blueberry Haze regular auto mail. So a Cosmic Queen by Mephisto, first of all, we already know that that's probably feminized.
Oh, guaranteed.
So with what we talked about earlier, you're going to have to keep in mind, Radical Notions, that your seeds are, that at least in the F1 generation, for sure, you're going to have that chance of those male hermaphroditic, whatever, however you said that. So I've noticed.
That may not even be a word. It could be a stone word. So.
Hermaphroditic?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Someone enter that in the dictionary. I just made up a new word.
Right.
I've noticed seed production, but it appears to be more in the hermaphrodite fashion. I don't know what that means. Rather than in the cola area. Will those seeds be viable, or is my plant just a herm?
Ooh. So that's weird. So it sounds
not.
Like that plant may have selfed it. I mean, has it selfed?
He pollinated a Cosmic Queen by Mephisto. So he pollinated it with an auto of Dark Devil times Blueberry Haze, a regular male. Right. So he pollinated a feminized plant with regular male pollen. And then he says, I noticed that the seed production appears to be more on the hermaphrodite fashion. So I don't know if he's saying like, maybe, I don't know. I'm not sure.
So what I would like to know is what hermaphrodite fashion looks like, because pollination occurs when the calyx receives the pollen through the hairs of the bracts from male stamen. May that be from a regular male or from a feminized female. So seed development, I don't know, and I could be completely wrong, if there's like a way to tell that seed is going to be a hermaphrodite beforehand, or if there's a specific growth pattern related to a plant that's maybe produced a male stem and then pollinated itself. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So I hope that answers his question.
Right. I hope so too, because and nothing against him, but I guess I don't really truthfully understand what he's asking, because there's a lot of information there.
Yeah. Maybe Radical Notions, maybe reach out to Dan on the DM.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, hit me up in DM.
All right, Onion Grill, what's going on, my friend?
What up, dude?
What breeding references, e.g., what does EG stand for when people say that? I'm so dumb.
Ergo.
What?
Ergo.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Is that French or something?
It's some kind of fanciness, man.
Oh, okay.
And I'm sounding so bad right now.
So, well, look at me. I don't even know what it means. I mean, I know what it means, like, but I just say, like, when I read E.G. In my head, I just read, like, what breeding references, like, books and sites, instead of E.G., I think like, the word like. Anyways, would you recommend for those wanting to learn to convert photos to autos? Is there a forum section for this on autoflower.net? I may have missed it.
There's not a dedicated forum to it, but if you look at guys like Magic Bean Company, or Magic, myself, if you get into the independent breeder section on autoflower.net, you can really take a look at guys that have done photo to auto crosses. I don't think there's a book specifically for auto breeding, photo autocross, but your typical breeding roadmap still applies. I mean, to simplify that, what I'm saying is you're hunting a specific trait, whether that be autoflower or color or terpene or height, weight, flower density, whatever it may be, you're hunting a gene. And like, I'm pretty sure maybe Punnett Square. And then there was one, Sebring Seeds posted it back on his Instagram. Wow, I can't remember the name of the book, but it's a pretty basic introduction to breeding 101.
Very cool. I'll have to check that out myself, I think.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. It's Mendel or something. Maybe it's not Mendel. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Sebring Seeds definitely has that posted up on his Instagram.
Okay. He also wants to know what characteristics do you look for in keepers?
I think it varies per cultivar.
Mm-hmm.
Anvil obviously was for color. Alf was more of a genetic preservation and breeding line, robust structure, bud density, the option for color. So it varies per cultivar. Gem was obviously for more of a medical effect. I didn't know it was CBG at the time until I was able to have it tested, but it was bred selectively upon the effect it gave me for the ailments that I have.
Okay. Very good. All right, man, I'm going to shift over to your post because that was the majority of the questions. I think I covered them all on mine. You mind if I read you some questions from your own post there?
Let's do it, man. I got nothing but time.
All right. So J Portillo 26, I recognize that, my friend. He's asking about silver, whatever that word was that you said, thiosulfate. Thiosulfate. But we already answered that, or colloidal silver. We answered that earlier. But let's see. Transistor Autoflower. What's up, homie? How do the big name seed companies grow and produce their genetics? Why do some of their genetics seem piss poor? That's a good question. Thanks for being bold enough to ask that. Are we getting ripped off by overproduction or something?
I honestly don't know how the big brands produce. I think everybody does it differently, and I think it would be an unfair justification if I were to say it's this way. I have no idea into their business model. I think there are issues with them not doing selective breeding and doing mass populations to meet demand. But I also understand that mentality. But that's kind of why I wanted to set myself differently and take time. I know sometimes it takes 3 to 6 months to get certain cultivars from me, but it's because I'm handpicking. Not to say that mass production, again, is a bad thing. Everybody's got a different angle and a different business view on it. And I'm sounding so PC right now, but like my nature is not, you know what I mean? But like everybody's different, and I wouldn't say screwed over. I do appreciate his boldness, but I mean, I think that there could be better selection processes done.
Yeah,
it's
man.
a hard one to say because, like, I mean, I really don't I get it. Like, everybody's different. Everybody has a different goal.
Yeah, it's hard too because that's a really I think you answered that great, man, and with the utmost respect. Let's see. Low Pro Grow 808 says, can most autos be run outdoors? I know your lines can handle muscle, fire, tree. Emoji. What about running in fall, spring in Hawaii, where we get 8 hours of the intense sun year round? You the man, and I'll be tuning in.
Well, I appreciate him tuning in. I definitely do. And appreciate the kind words. I think a lot of autos can be run outdoor. I think the one thing we want to keep in mind is true daylight hours. Intense sun is one thing, but I think daylight hours in total are key to that. I was recently talking with a local med grower here about autos and then what we can do with them seasonally here. And I started as early as April this year and as late as maybe June. I would say the ones that I started in June are the most robust, and I think it may have something to do with the more intense red sun at the end of the season. The plant's bigger, it's more robust. So, yeah, it's definitely different. I mean, some of my earlier ones that kicked off, like the Coal Miner's Daughter, for example, absolutely gorgeous. Did good in the short season. Did really good. Our earlier part of the season was cool and damp. I'm not going to say wet because we haven't had a bunch of rain, which is ideal because we get a shit ton of rain up here. But I think there is a potential for multiple harvests if it's done correctly.
Yeah, I think like in Hawaii, I think it's more so like you got to watch out for maybe like the humid, because isn't Hawaii, it's like the temperature pretty much stays the same, but doesn't the humidity change a little bit or something? I'm not sure.
I think it may be more humid. Something tells me it may. I don't know if it's like the Florida climate, but something tells me that there's a lot of humidity that goes on down there.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind.
I'll tell you what, Low Pro Grow 808, buy me and Dan a plane ticket. We'll fly out to your house, dude. It'll be a drag, but we'll go to Hawaii. Well, we have to quarantine for 14 days first, and then we'll check out the environment and give you a lowdown personal review of it. How about that?
Yeah, personal consultation.
I want to go to Hawaii, man. I want to go to the North Shore.
I don't care where I go. I just want to go down there one time, just once.
Yeah, I just want to go to the North Shore and watch. I just want to say that. I wouldn't stick my toe in that water in the wintertime. But, all right. So, Grower's Sky, at what point in days would be a good time to add STS to a female ALF auto to make feminine pollen? Thanks. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I've been told as soon as you see pre-flower female. If you're working with a pre-feminized seed, you could probably start the process earlier because you know that's going to be a female and your idea is to reverse it. So I think on a regular seed, particularly my ALF, I'd wait till at least you know it's a female, and then you can start at that point. Again, I have never personally done it, so I can't suggest the amount, the ppm, or how much A and B stock I've used, but I think that would be the best point to do it in.
Okay. What do you think if someone was using colloidal silver? Same thing?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay.
Typically, the alpha sex before 3 weeks. It's usually between 14 to 18 days.
Okay. Very good. Fergie Dave, I germinated 2 of the Anvil F6 seeds I bought earlier this year, leaving the rest in a drawer in my bedroom that doesn't have AC. I thought they'd be fine at room temp, even if the room gets into the 90s occasionally. Last week, I tried germinating 6 more. It's been about 5 days now, and nothing has popped up. This sucks. Did I just learn the hard way that these seeds need to be kept refrigerated?
I mean, I don't think so. Typically, I know a lot of people don't refrigerate their seeds. I keep mine on cold storage because of preservation. But it could be a multitude of things, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe you did get a few of them that won't germinate, and I apologize for that.
If that's the case.
If that's the case, I mean, there could be a magnitude of things. I mean, one thing is, has anything changed in the last time since you've made the post? Did you check your moisture levels? I don't want to point a finger at the actual grower. So, I mean, it could be a factor of things.
Yeah, that's what I was curious about, was like, I wonder how humid it is in your room, bro. Like, because if the room gets into the 90s occasionally, but if it's humid too, it's kind of like, what if that seed almost starts its process? You know what I mean? And then like if it cools back down, or if it dries back out, like it could kind of like you were getting ready to germinate, but then stopped. You know what I'm saying? Is that possible?
I mean, it could be. I can't speak from experience on that one, but if the room is warm enough and there's enough, moisture around that seed, and most of the seed that you get from me is less than a year old. So, I mean, they still have a pretty decent shelf life because there's a lot of moisture left in there as far as like moisture to germinate, to create the life. So, I mean, there's a potential that, yeah, it could have gone into a partial germination or, beginning of germination state. I mean, there's a lot of factors in that. It's hard to tell when a seed doesn't germinate like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I keep mine in the freezer. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's just what I do.
That's typically where I keep mine. Usually they go from dry to the fridge and then from the fridge to the freezer. Yeah. And then from the freezer, they come out 36 hours before they're shipped.
Yeah. And then even like when you ship them to me, like I put them back in the freezer.
Right. I mean, it won't hurt them.
Yeah. I just like to, cause I'm the same way as Fergie Dave. Like it could get hot in my house sometimes, especially like if I go camping for a few days, take off, it'd be like 86, 90 in here, cause I'm not running the AC. So, let's see, paraplegic Poppy 420. How many generations do you typically have to work a new cross between a photo and an auto before the autoflower trait becomes dominant? And I just realized that we answered that earlier.
We did.
But thank you for your question. Hi, Bastard Boro. What a cool name. Have you ever nerded out on somatic fusion?
I have not. And no, I haven't tried it. However, it does look rather interesting.
What is that?
Some kind of fusion process. I did some reading on it earlier because I was looking through the questions and I was like, I have no idea what the hell that even is. It's some kind of plant fusion that's going on.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah.
All right.
Like, I have no idea. Like, yeah, no clue.
That's okay.
Yeah. Hey.
We stumped Dan, everybody. We stumped Dan.
Stop it.
All right. Homie Green Thumbs. I like this question because I grew like this for a very long time. I grow in a tent in my garage where unfortunately I can't regulate temperatures. Are there any ways to counteract the effects of high temps? Or are there any specific strains that grow better in high temps? By the way, high temp range being between 80 and 100 degrees.
I think that comes back, and he answered his own question there. It's all about the cultivar. Can it handle it? As far as mitigation, I mean, it's going to be the simple, or the not simple, but the same answers anybody's going to give you: AC, insulation, anything of that nature.
Yeah. You know what I did is because I grew in my garage and it would be 90 in my garage. And then I had my tent with the light on in it. And so I dealt with that for quite a while. And I had an AC in there. I do have an AC, but I never ran it because I was only growing in a 2x2. And so like I've noticed, like I just grew in it anyways. It would get up. My tent has gotten up to 100, like 103. And it's most definitely not ideal. But the plants will still grow. But they definitely, like, the biggest thing I noticed, man, growing in high heat like that is the loss of like terpenes and stuff. At least
what about your water frequency?
Huh?
Water frequency. Like, how often did you have to water?
It depends. Like in a 1 gallon pots, like definitely every single day, at least once a day. At least.
Right.
And that's in soil too. And like in like a 3 gallon pot or 5 gallon pot, like pretty much every day when the plants are big and in flower and they're taking up a lot of moisture, every day, you got to water every day. So I would water every day. I had fan blowing the crap out of it in there. And my humidity wasn't that high, so that's why I could get away with it. But it still definitely degraded the flower, dude, no doubt. You know what I mean?
Oh, I do.
Yeah. Let's see, Suds 334. I am a new grower, currently purchasing my tent setup. I want to grow in cocoa. I've been researching and YouTubing and just taking on, I think, too much info. For a new grower, can you point me in the correct direction with the soil and the nutrient schedule? For someone new who's going to attempt his first grow, this to me is the hardest step, is the nutrients. What to buy, when to feed, and what cocoa to buy.
And see, that's hard for me to answer because I don't grow in cocoa. However, there's a lot of great resources for cocoa out there. Advanced Nutrients makes a cocoa line. I can't remember if it's a 2-part or 3-part, but it's pretty straightforward. Tells you what to mix on the back of the bottle. I suggest also getting something that's known to be easy to grow and it's a little bit resilient. Because I agree with him 100%. The hardest thing is to figure out, to cipher and swim through all this information. There's so much for a new grower. It's overwhelming. Cocoa, I would suggest something that is, well, obviously it's going to be inert, but it's got some reputation. There's a lot of different brands out there. I mean, a quick Google search is going to give you some results, and do your research. I did mention Advanced Nutrients. They do have a line that's good for the cocoa that I know can be fed well, especially for a first-time grower. I think Fox Farm even has some stuff. And then House and Garden, I think, has a cocoa line too. And House and Garden's got some pretty straightforward instructions on the back of the bottles. Like, for instance, like I do have their soil line. And it's got an A part and a B part, and it's got additives. And on the back of that bottle, it tells you, exactly what to mix with A and B, how much to mix with A and B. And, it can walk you right through at least getting started. If you're looking to grow autos for the first time, autoflower.net is obviously a great resource. You're going to find tons of people out there growing in cocoa. Is it Dr. MJ Cocoa? He's got cocoa for cannabis. Like, if you really want to talk about, running cocoa, definitely should go over there and check those guys out. I think that's going to be some good resources for you to find new growers, see what they've experienced, and, give it a shot for yourself. Read about it. Take some time and research. That's the one best thing that I can recommend. Take some time. I know you want to get started today. We all want to get started yesterday, actually. But, take the time to do the research, make yourself a diagram, see what works best, and then, pull from those resources.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to mention, man, Suds 334, that there is a lot of info out there, dude, and you just got to do your best to kind of start to hone in. And I know, like Dan just mentioned, like Dr. MJ Cocoa, cocoforcannabis.com. I'll totally plug that guy because he's just got a lot of info on his website and his YouTube channel. He's really good about getting back to people as well. And I've done a couple of episodes with him. The first episode I did with him was on growing autoflowers and cocoa. Check out that episode. Also reach out to Rasta K, who was on last week's episode or the week before, because I think this might end up being 2 parts, but, reach out to Rasta K because he grows in cocoa, and you can kind of get an idea what he's doing and just kind of see what you like. And I would just say choose one and after you do your research, of course, and just start doing it, man. Just pull the trigger and start doing it and learn as you go.
Yep. Make mistakes. It's the best thing you can do.
Yeah. All right. Seaberry Orchard. How's it going, my friend? Have you crossed any autoflowers specifically for making bubble hash or pressing rosin? If not, which autoflower breeder has that of? Thanks.
Yeah, I have. The Bobby's Widow is really good on returns for pressing rosin. I've seen some really good numbers coming back on return from her. Was she specifically designed for that? No. It was just a happy result. And then as far as other breeders, I've seen some good result from Night Owl Seeds. Daz's stuff has got some really good rosin production that I've seen. So yeah, there's a couple guys out there that are working on it. And I think it's just a byproduct of just, quality cultivar.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. This one is about colloidal silver again. So I think let me do a little. Damn it, I'm going to edit that out. Son of a bitch. Okay, let's see.
Or should you leave it?
Herbal Ealers. Herbal Ealers. I'm getting tongue-tied.
Twice.
Oh, man, I just can't say this. herbal. It's because I don't know whether to say herbal or herbal. And, I'm 40 years old, dude, and I still go back and forth when I see that word, and I haven't chosen which one to say. Herbal Healers CBD. They asked a question about colloidal silver and stuff, but we answered that earlier, I think.
Probably. We touched about it a lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
So, but thank you for submitting your question, and I hope it did get answered. If not, feel free to reach out. So, right on, man. Well, that, I think, covers all of the questions. You had mentioned to me that you've got something to share. Is that still true?
It is. Yeah, I'm getting ready to release a few new cultivars to the public. One you spoke about earlier is Loki OG. That'll be coming soon. I'm going to also be doing the Coal Miner's Daughter, which has been its second generation acclimated to the Pacific Northwest. Mold and mildew resistant, which is super nice to have around this climate. So anybody up in the northern areas, it should do pretty well for you outdoors. So super, super excited about that.
Heck yeah, dude. I'm glad to see that Loki OG be released.
Well, we've taken it to the F5, so I think it's ready. The males were beautiful, super dense. Females were just the same. More of a sativa leaning auto, as you've experienced. And then the Coal Miner's Daughter is in the indica line. She's more of a sedative, earth and spicy is the best way I could describe her. So yeah, it's going to be super nice. Looking forward to it. It's nice to bring out something new while I'm working on some of the classics.
Yeah. So when can we expect those strains?
I would say within the next few weeks. I'm finishing up seed chucking and counting and getting everything ready and packaged. And there'll be some specific releases with different seed banks. I know everybody's got their favorite one, but those details will come shortly.
Nice, man. And what about that ABC that you're working on? Is that like a couple of years from now or a year from now, you think? Or
auto is going to be a while from now.
Is it?
Yeah, the auto is going to be a while from now. I am going to release some of the IBL. This stuff has actually been sourced from New South Wales, Australia, in a forest called Never Never. Now, this is not some storybook bullshit. I'm not making it up. I fortunately have some acquaintances down there and some friends, actually. Not acquaintances. I'm not going to bullshit.
Nice.
I've got some friends down there, and it took about a year, but I was able to source it out of Australia. It's been well worth it. It's taught me a lot, that there's more than just 5 fingers, Brax, and some Stamen. That there's the ability to have something that's unique and different. I think I want to get it out there to the people. It's just the same reason I release regulars. I think we should be able to play with this plant. Assist this plant and keep it around forever. Or not forever, but, as long as human history's been around, it's been around.
Yeah, for sure, dude. So are you, so you're releasing some of the photo period strains then? Like some of the...
I am.
Okay, so you took the seeds that you sourced from... Whoops. So you took the seeds that you sourced from down under and you bred those. That's what you mean by IBL, inline bred?
Yes.
Or what does that stand for?
Inbred line. And that's correct. Line. Yeah, so the photo periods that will be released are going to be a pure version of the Australian bastard cannabis. I went through, it was extremely tough to germinate. And I've talked about this, I think, to a couple other people. But I think the germination issue was basically because I don't know how old the seeds were, who know how long there's a lot of variables in there. But what I did do was select one of the fastest males. I had one male that was dropping pollen by week 3, flipping the lights, which was impressive because this strain is notoriously known to be slow. The females do grow slow. But I think I think everybody should have a chance to see stuff from different regions. So yeah, you can check out most of the pictures I think are on my Instagram. I may have a few others too, but yeah.
And when are you going to be releasing those?
So it'll be I'm going to say a few months. Okay. They're still finishing up. They're very slow as far as maturing. But you should see those way before Christmas. Did I lose you?
Huh?
I said, yeah, I thought I lost you. It got quiet.
Oh, No, I was just saying that'll make a good Christmas gift.
Well, yeah, that's the idea. I want to get them out before Christmas. That way people can get them. They will be posted on who's getting them and when on the Instagram.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
And then
It's been real fun.
What have you got available right now at the seed banks?
I think right now, Hembra Genetics Collection is the only ones that are holding both Anvil and Alf. I think DC Seed Exchange may have some Alf, but Anvil is currently sold out. I'm getting ready to restock, like I said, the Loki OG and Coal Miner's Daughter, and then we're going to have a huge influx of Gem. I've been working on a reproduction of Gem. It's been sold out for about a year now, just because of other projects. And the Gem is coming back to the market.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yeah, a lot of people enjoyed that. I myself enjoy it. But so there is one other thing I want to mention. Right now, we got a lot of fires going on down in Santa Cruz County. There is a few groups that are reaching for donations and auctions and items to auctions, to auction and knowledge to be shared and just to get the word out there into the community. And the Santa Cruz Seed Company, I do believe is the name. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But I did post it up this evening about, any other breeder out there that's willing to donate for an auction. This is all about community. It's a whole reason why I got into this stuff. And I really just want to help that outreach, just like we helped Firebuzz and his family with the kidney transplant that their son has to have. I'm not trying to play on heartstrings. I just have always been about this community. This community's been good to me. And I think it's time we all give back, especially in times that are fucking crazy right now.
Yeah. So they're doing an auction and you're donating to that auction? Is that what you're saying?
I am going to donate to that auction. I'm going to donate some Bobby's Widow. Right now it's impossible to get a hold of because I've been holding back on it because I'm working on it still and I want people to have the right stuff. Mm-hmm. But I will donate and auction off a 12-pack of my personal selection of Bobby's Widow for this. There will be more details that come out as they post and go forward. I still have to coordinate with the auction owner. But yes, I am going to personally put up some Bobby's Widow. And if I had some ABC to put up, I would, but maybe in a future auction to help somebody else.
That's cool, dude. I love it. Right on, man. Well, Dan, thanks so much, man, for answering all of these questions from our listeners, dude. Really appreciate it, man.
Anytime, man. It's always good to be on here with you. It's always good to chat. I enjoy.
Well, thank you to everyone who submitted a question and to everyone for listening in. Hopefully, this little two-part series will bring a little clarification to any fog you may have had and answer any questions that you may have had. Don't forget to follow the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And most importantly, remember to love one another, my friends. Have a good one, you guys. See ya.
It's what I hate about the war on drugs. I'll be honest with you. It's what I can't stand is all day long we see those commercials. Here's your brain on drugs. Just say no. Why do you think they call it dope? And then the next commercial is this bud's for you. Come on, everybody. Let's be hypocritical bastards. It's okay to drink your drug. Nicotine, alcohol, good drugs. Coincidentally, tax drugs. Ooh, how does this fucking work? Shit, man. Not only do I think marijuana should be legalized, I think it should be mandatory. Didn't murder anybody, didn't rob anybody, didn't rape anybody, didn't beat anybody, didn't lose one fucking job, laughed my ass off, and went about my day. Because I'll tell you something, I'll be honest, man, if I were going to legalize a drug, it sure wouldn't have been alcohol. Sorry, there's better drugs and better drugs for you. That's a fact. You may stop your internal dialogue. I'll prove it to you, man. You're at a ball game or a concert and someone's really violent and aggressive and obnoxious. Are they drunk or are they smoking pot? Which is it? They're drunk.
The deadly narcotic is thus quickly and easily prepared for its market. The sale of marijuana is even more difficult to detect and halt than the traffic in drugs such as opium, morphine, and heroin. The deadly narcotic the deadly narcotic